So I started writing really early on. I started working at a record store right out of high school. I started doing radio right out of high school, like everything that I could do. And then when I started doing radio in 1983, I was doing what was considered to be a heavy metal specialty show, 3 hours a week on the weekend. And like Randy was saying, when he started doing a tribute show, there weren't a lot of, or anybody doing tribute bands. When I started doing what was called the metal show back then, there was really hardly anybody else in the country doing a show dedicated to hard rock music. There may have been one or two others, but I wasn't aware of them. So I started that, and it made a lot of impact in that area of the country because people couldn't believe what I was playing on the radio and that there was an outlet for it. And there was an import record store that I used to go to called Rock and Roll Heaven, and the guy who ran the import record store, one day I'm on the air, and I'm only doing radio like for 6 months at this point, and the guy who ran the record store comes knocking on the door of the radio station while I'm doing my radio show. I go to the window, I'm like, what the hell's the guy working at the flea market doing at the store, at my door at this radio station? And he had a bag under his arm with a record in it. He's like, you gotta let me in, you gotta let me in. I knew him, so I was like, yeah, come in. And you gotta remember, in '83, when you're on the radio, there's no computers, there's no, like, you can't push a button like you can now, walk away for half an hour. You're queuing up records, you gotta be there when that record ends. If that song's 3 minutes, you better be there to get the next record ready. So I was really scattered and frantic, because I was very new at the time. And he said to me, I'm not leaving until you give me a chance to play this record on the radio. And I was like, well, just leave it. I'll listen to it later. I'll let you know. He goes, no. You don't understand. I'm not leaving until you play this. This is a band I put my whole life into, all my savings, and I need somebody to give them a chance to play them on the radio. He opens up the bag, and that record was Metallica, Kill 'Em All, the first Metallica album. That time, nobody knew who Metallica was, independent record label, and John Z, who was the guy who did this, who founded Megaforce Records, just like, I'm not leaving until you play something from this, please help me out. So I did. I played the song Jump in the Fire, and he wrote on the cover of the record, Ed, you were the first, thanks for believing, John Z. I still have the record, and he left. And when he left, he said to me, if I can ever get this band to break, I'm going to start the record label and I'm going to hire you to work for me. And I was like, yeah, right. Good luck with that. Because I didn't know what I heard. Like, a lot of people ask me, when you heard Metallica like that, I heard The Future? No, I didn't know what I heard. Like, to me, it sounded like it was just, I never heard music that intense. So I didn't think it was good. My early A&R skills, I'm like, that band's not going to go anywhere, right?
It's not commercial.
Yeah, like, I'm the only nut that's going to play that band on the radio. And that's the way it was for a couple more years. And sure enough, 3 years later, 1986, he calls me up. And at that point, I had seen that Metallica had gone on to, they just signed to Elektra Records. They were about to put out Master of Puppets. And he called me up, and he was good to his word, and he said, good news and bad news. Good news is, as you know, Metallica is huge now, and I have, because of my settlement, because he had to get paid out, because he had them for management and record label, so they had to make a settlement, so he got a lot of money paid out when they left him. He goes, so with this money, I'm going to start a record company, I'm going to hire you. The bad news is you won't be working with Metallica because they left me, that's how I'm starting the company. So I'm like, all right, I'm all in. So I was pretty much like one of the first employees for that label. And I was 22. And then I remember thinking, wow, I got it made. I'm going to be making big money working for this cool record company. And the money wasn't great. I was still living at home for a long time. And he gave me the directions to go to the office. And I pull into this residential area, and it was in Old Bridge, New Jersey, and I'm like, I guess we're meeting at his house for coffee before we go to the office. And I walk in, I'm like, where's the office? He goes, see where my daughter's crib is over there? I'm like, yeah. Pull up a phone and sit down next to that crib. That's your office. That's how it started.